Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. So today I have my special guest. He's a co founder, CFO, organizational catalyst, and hard question lover. No other than Mr. Simon Holzapfel.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Simon. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. Yeah. So Simon Holzapfel, I'm the CFO of the lab. I have been in entrepreneurship and leadership for about 15 years, 20 years. And I'm just excited to be here today to talk about some of the most important books, and one book in particular that anyone in your audience who works on a team, whether that's a family team or a work team, can use the ideas in this book to help them achieve more, understand more, and really stay connected to their personal purpose.
Mr. Simon Holzapfel, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And
Sure.
today let's talk about education innovation.
Hmm.
Tell us, when we talk about education innovation, it can mean many things. For you,
Yes.
what is the single most important problem that education innovation is trying to solve today?
Mm. Yeah. So education innovation today is trying to solve for what does a teacher and what does the education system do in a world where the economy and technology are just moving so fast, and schools' ability to adapt themselves to the changes is very limited. So that's the big, very high level view of the struggle to adapt that many educational institutions are facing. The economic landscape, the demography, those things are all changing. And so, especially in countries with lower birth rates, they're really trying to figure out, how do we make all this work and understand a sort of shrinking population going forward. Um, there's lots of smaller stuff that many educational innovators are trying to do, which is to make the learning experience more centered around the student. So instead of the factory model, if you push the student through the system, this is a different thing where you help the student grow over time. Um, and yeah, that's what really is the part of education innovation that I'm lucky enough to get to work in.
Mr. Simon, traditionally education focus on standardized knowledge and recall. What should the primary goal of a modern, innovative education system be? Is it fostering critical thinking, creativity, resilience, or something else entirely?
Yeah, so creativity, resilience, those sort of things, those are critical additions that we have not spent enough time in the past on. We've spent too much time on procedural knowledge, fact recall, things that are certainly valuable to some degree. But if the whole education system is built around those things, that's just not a smart way to create critical thinkers, creative people, those sorts of things. So you're right on the point of the problem, Daniel.
There are concerns that innovation can widen the gap between privileged and underprivileged students. How can we ensure that education innovation acts as a bridge for equity rather than a
Yeah.
barrier?
Yeah, I mean, that is another huge theme, and we see that, globally. I can speak specifically about the lab that I work in. We solve for the equity problem by not charging students to come through the lab. However, it does require that, at least for now, the student have an internet connection. And we know that there are hundreds of millions of people across the world who do not have that. So we do what we can by making there be no barrier financially to getting into the lab. What we can't do is help people get to the internet from wherever they are. Um, in terms of the bigger question of how does education help with equity, um, it's a big problem because so much of um, education is based on exclusion, frankly. It's based on a asymmetry in power relations that a lot of education is frankly just not interested in changing. In our laboratory, our view is when you can create people who can learn these ways of working, more adaptive, more collaborative, more critical thinking, those aptitudes in those students will simply be recognized by those around them. And that will do some of the work. But it's our work to do what we can. We can't solve everything. Um, and our goal is to create people who leave the lab with professional certifications that show that regardless of their class background, they're ready to contribute to organizations at a high level.
Mr. Simon, welcome to Learn Education Agile Foundry Lab. Can you
Mm.
tell us about this? On your website.
Yeah, sure. So, what the audience is looking at is just our homepage. You can see that we are there for businesses and students if you read along the top. So, the way the lab works is we have many business partners who bring us basically projects that they know they're never going to do. These are small, sometimes medium-sized businesses, and they've just got too much to do. What they do is for a small fee, we take the work into the lab, prepare students to do the work on the business problem or challenge, and then they take small pieces of that, create a solution, show it back to the business owner or the sponsor of the work, and then we move forward. So that's sort of on the business side of things. On the student side of things, students can come into our general talent incubator. Some students are more interested in what's called product development. So they come in and they do a 24-week product development program. Most students come in for 12 weeks just for the general talent incubator. Yeah, does that answer the question, or were there other details?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Simon. Personalized learning is a major buzzword.
Mhm.
Beyond just adaptive software, what does truly effective human centric personalized learning look like in a classroom of 25 plus students?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that it takes is a teacher who's willing to work in a different way. If the teacher
Yes.
insists on standing at the front of the classroom, talking and talking and talking and talking, and just expecting the students to transcribe their words, that's just not, that's the opposite of what we're talking about. Individualized is where the teacher uses a technique called differentiated instruction. And with differentiated instruction, what you do is with those 20 or 25 students, you break them into smaller teams sometimes. You might cluster them by their learning preferences, these sorts of things. The other thing is that in many places, um, more and more schools are rolling out electric tutors, electronic tutors, AI tutors. And I think some of those are good. I think it's very early days. Um, but the most important thing is for students to come in and have a chance to really practice, cut their teeth in solving these business problems, and that's really the fun of it.
The fun of it for sure. Mr. Simon, in an innovative classroom, the teacher's role shifting from sage to the stage to guide on the
Hmm.
side. What new skills and supports do educators need to thrive in this new environment?
Yeah, I think what educators need is really just an open mind. That's not to say they have to love everything, but if you're an educator now and you're really interested in individualized student-centered learning, the number of sort of tools available is incredible. So many interesting things out there. Um, so for the teachers who really want to, be helpful, they have to start being a learner with their students. Not of the same thing, obviously, but if the teacher can't be in the classroom as a learner with the students, inspiring the students to learn, to use critical thinking, if the teacher just thinks they're a speaking encyclopedia, That is not, that's the opposite of where we need to go.
If we are innovating to teach skills like collaboration and creativity, how do we move beyond standardized tests to meaningfully assess these
Yeah.
competency?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And it's really, these are very difficult questions. And so the first thing I would say is that there aren't easy answers. Um, because how schools are administered, because the national or state standards can vary, I would say there's not really like an easy recipe. State standards are a thing. Standardizing test results, those have a purpose. The problem is that too many schools take just the test results as the end goal, not as evidence that their program is working towards creating the sort
Yes.
of 21st century learners that everyone says that is what we need now.
So, Mr. Simon, that we are in the 21st century, the emergence of generative AI like
Mm,
ChatGPT has caused both excitement and panic. What is the most productive way to educators to integrate AI into the learning process, and what the
mm,
fundamental skills become more important, not less, because of it?
mm. Yeah. I mean, that's such a good question. Um, really what I've come to believe is that more and more of what's effective is the learning culture of the organization. There are some organizations that are just kind of a bit more entrepreneurial, a bit more open-minded, a bit more open to new things, and some that aren't. Um, Daniel, if you could ask your question again a little bit differently, I think there was a little bit of a breakup in the audio, so I'm not sure I understood your question completely.
So in the 21st century, because we are now having these AI, what is
Oh,
the big effect or pros and cons to our education system?
yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. So my wife is also a professor in a university. So both she and I are sort of working on this. And there are some professors who are just simply panicking and just putting their heads in the ground and trying to pretend it's just going to go away. That's obviously not going to work. There are other professors who are just all in and say it's all AI, and that to me seems equally like a bad idea. Um, if we go way back in ancient time, our species, sapiens, does one thing especially well. We make new tools. Sometimes we understand them, sometimes we don't,
Yes.
and we keep pushing the boundaries. So, for the teachers who want to integrate AI, be an explorer, be inventive, try new things. Don't decide that you know how this is going to work until you experiment with your students. If you're allowed to experiment in professional development with the other teachers or educators in your school, great. I think the main thing is for schools to slow down and talk more and do less, because most schools just keep charging ahead and they don't take the time to slow down, reassess, stop doing things. Schools tend to just do more and more, and they don't take things out of the program to allow change to happen. That's one of the big blocks in education.
Mr. Simon, as a co-founder, CFO, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Mm. So the short-term goal is to just keep bringing more students into the lab and finding more companies to sponsor the work in the lab. That's really our short-term goal. We're about 3 years old now, 4 years old, and we're at the point where we're going to start to scale with various, partners. The long-term goal is for every student, regardless of circumstance, to be able to get into the lab if they want to in 10 years time, some long future. Again, we can't solve for the fact that not everyone has internet access. We can solve for people don't know how to get trained in the right way of working in the digital economy. That we can do, and again, we do that for as many people as we can afford to bring into the program.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Simon, and looking forward for more success.
Thank you.
And let shaping the leaders of tomorrow.
Mm.
And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh man.
Want to be
Okay.
like you.
Yeah, I mean, so thing number one is just be curious. Be curious. Keep hungry for learning new things. That's the one thing. Like when I was a child, Daniel, I would often get annoyed with people. And I would get annoyed because everyone asked me the same question. And I could not understand why everyone would ask me the same question. The question they would ask me in frustration is, why do you ask so many questions? So I had that fire, I had that appetite and that passion for learning since I was a little kid. And I think mostly that's what's gotten me on my professional path is just being curious.
Being curious, people. Who knows? You will be the next Einstein. And Mr. Simon, can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And before we do that, can I just back up one thing about creativity?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the thing about curiosity, when you have everyone has curiosity, there's no human I've ever met who does not have curiosity. The question is, does your environment allow or encourage your curiosity to come out? We all have this. God, whatever gave us curiosity as a tool,
Hmm,
we have
yes.
to, if our environment doesn't encourage it, find ways to just let our curiosity grow. So we ultimately have to take responsibility as individuals, and it's in all of us. However, as leaders, we can make curiosity cool. We can make it interesting. We can make it safe. We can make it okay. Those are the things that we need to do. So, to your question about what book, the book
Yes.
is called The Song of Significance.
Oh, wow. The Song of
the
Significant.
the Song of Significance, and it's by a very famous American business author named Seth Godin, Seth, Seth Godin, Godin. And the Song of Significance is really it's kind of a manifesto for leaders to bring purpose and purposeful work to their teams. Leaders who don't bring purpose to their teams will forever be frustrated.
Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Simon. And
Sure.
looking ahead 20 years, if
Mm.
education innovation is wildly successful, what does a typical 18-year-old graduate look like? What are they able to do that today's graduates struggle with?
Yeah. So the thing that they can do that they can't do now is have a language and a repertoire of skills for problem definition and collaborative problem attack. This already exists in some areas in education. Often more STEM-based disciplines are more collaborative than others. Still, collaboration is not encouraged in most of our educational settings. And that's a huge problem because the cognitive challenge of solving any business problem almost always takes more than one mind to understand and do something about it. So the thing that will be different is collaboration. And we have many digital tools. We have many ways to facilitate collaboration, either in person or like we're doing, distributed across the globe. That's the big thing that has to change to allow income levels globally to rise, among other things.
If you had the authority to change one rule, one policy, or standardized practice in education tomorrow, what would it be and why
Wow. So you mean globally?
globally?
Okay. So globally, what we would change is what is the most valid form of demonstration of knowledge? And we need to move away from the most valid form of a demonstration of knowledge being taking a test to a demonstration that something is known.
Interesting, Mr. Simon. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because
Okay,
my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book
cool.
101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth
Oh,
season as
wow.
well, geography
Cool.
101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in
Cool.
third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex
Wow.
101 in its
Cool.
first season. Please listen to them wherever
Yeah.
you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Simon, what moment or experience in your own life convinced you that innovating in education was not just important, but urgent?
Ah, wow. Uh, I think part of it was seeing my own children struggle. Part of it was seeing many young people who I knew were gifted and smart and had lots to give the world, but their schools were not encouraging them to really grow as their full self.
Mr. Simon Holzapfel, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Sure. Yeah. So the easiest way for people to find me is on LinkedIn or through our website. I would love to meet people, take questions either through the Leaf Lab website or on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Simon Holzapfel because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering education innovation to come. So, Mr. Simon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.